All right, tonight is Monday, April 25th. Let's call this regular board meeting to order. It is 7:01. We'll start by saying the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Sure.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, can we start with a roll call, please?
Mr. Cummings? Here. Ms. McGuire?
Here.
Mr. Spencer?
Here.
Mr. Palmer?
Here.
Mr. Sutton here. Mr. Worcester?
Present.
Ms. Richards?
Here. All right, do we have any agenda additions? I know for sure there's one, but
I have an
Two, I should
addition
say.
of Resolution 202208, which is the resolution regarding local match and maintenance associated with the Iron Bell Trail Phase 3 bike path.
okay, where would you like to place that?
Under Resolution 1, we didn't have any other ones in there. So it'd be between Superintendent's report and other.
We don't, I was gonna say we don't,
Yeah, because we
there's
didn't
not a
have
heading.
any on there.
Right.
So it's right in between there where we normally put it, if you guys are okay with that.
Okay, so before we go to other. And Tim?
Yes, and the other was to add the topic for discussion and possible action on trying to give Todd Dickerson another place to sit again over at Township Hall. He
Okay,
doesn't have any office space, and he's been sitting over in the superintendent's office, which has been problematic for both of them because neither one of them can necessarily stay in the office the whole time. And we're just looking to see if there isn't some other solution.
okay, so you wanna put that under other, number 4?
That would be fine, thank you.
Okay. All right,
I also had an addition under the consent agenda, under finance.
Okay.
It would be, it could actually still go under the heading of the CWSRF checking reports. There was just one that was approved by Roe that we approved last time, and I'm just including the copy that I wrote the check.
Okay, sure.
And I believe I sent that to everybody earlier.
so what do we need to call that? Sorry.
Just in addition to the
It's-
consent
yeah.
agenda.
DWRF checking, I guess.
Okay, so DWRF. Okay, does that conclude the additions proposed? Right, is there a motion to approve those additions?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda additions as presented.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Ms. McGuire to approve those agenda additions. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes,
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to the public hearing component of the meeting. I believe we need a motion to go into the public hearing.
I move that we begin public hearing on the MEDC CBDG Oscoda Beach Park grant application.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Spencer to open up the public hearing for the MEDC CBDG Oscoda Beach Park grant application. Roll call, please.
Mr. Worcester?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes,
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. We are now in the public hearing component of the meeting. I don't know how.
Good evening, Dave Richmond with Rowe Professional Services. I thought I'd just get up and give just a brief history of what we're doing here. As part of the grant application that's been submitted for the CDBG project, we need to have a public hearing. The grant that we're submitting for is a maximum of $1 million grant with a match of $120,000. We've identified several projects that are standalone projects from previous the previous park master plan, and that's what we've put in. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, at this time, does the board have any questions?
I had just a question on one area on the form where you check the boxes. There was one for the
Resolution?
resolution
Yes.
that is included in the packet
It's in-
that's submitted,
yes.
but the box isn't checked. Is that,
That's fine. We got to resubmit the application anyways, an amended
Okay.
application after the public hearing. So with the Word document that they had, you couldn't check the box. It wouldn't let you check
Oh.
the box. So I'm just going to have to hand mark it when we resubmit it.
okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, is there anybody from the public that is here with questions?
I got a couple
Oh,
questions.
Sorry. Ms. McGuire has some
I
questions.
don't know, Dave, if you'll know, or Tam, you'll know the answer to this, but where is the funds for the local match coming from?
Well, we do have the 50,000 that was promised with the purchase of the property down at the beach. And we do have ARPA funds available for that as well.
Okay.
Does that cover the entire match? The 50,000 plus whatever ARPA funds, does that cover the entire match?
Yes, it will.
Yeah, it's 120, I think is the local match.
Under the à la carte selections, the choices they have for the upgrades, my question on the one map, it shows the pier extension going to the north instead of going straight out. What was the thought process on that?
I believe the thought process of having it head to the north is to create more of a safe harbor, to eventually be able to maybe have boat stocking in there. That's my understanding. And this isn't, the actual pier extension is not part of this grant application.
Okay.
It was taken out and there's another grant that we're gonna be looking at, I believe, for the pier.
Okay, it was highlighted on the one map, so I
It's
wasn't
still
sure.
shown on the map. There's several things shown on that map. But that was one of them that we just left on the map just for future. That's, this is all future work that wants to be done out of the park.
Okay. My other question, and I don't know if this is part of it either, but it was highlighted, was enlarging the water park.
Yeah, the splash park.
The splash pad. If we move the bathhouse closer to the parking lot, will that expose the water part, the splash pad to more, there won't be anything blocking it for more sand and buildup and things like that?
And I guess that's something that can always be looked at as we move forward. If you want to put in, say, some sort of small privacy wall or something to help block off the sand from coming in, that's something that can be looked at. This was just the master plan that had been previously identified, and that's what we went with right now. But nothing has been decided as to what projects to actually work on right now. So as we become successful with the grant, then we can look at what projects, everybody desires. We can put a priority list down and see which direction we actually want to move with.
Thank you.
And I did have a question as well, thank you.
Okay.
So what is when you refer to the bathroom facility / pavilion, what do you mean by pavilion?
What it would be is you'd have your bathroom facility, and then it would be extension off of one end where you could have a pavilion, where you could have picnic tables and whatnot coming off of the one end of it.
I see.
So it'd be all in one. It wouldn't just be a bathroom facility, but it would also be a pavilion that would extend down so that you'd have a place for your tables or, to be able to rent out.
Got it. I wasn't sure if you were meaning what is currently the band shell, which is
No.
next to that, and I
No.
wanted to make sure. Okay, very good, thank you.
And I guess now I have a question, sorry. I didn't really notice in here, when is the award expected? I mean, when were they going to be making a determination?
I believe we'll have a preliminary determination in June, I think it was.
Okay,
I'm trying to remember exactly what it was, but I believe it was in June is when they would identify the successful grants, the applicants.
all right, any other board members then, before we see if there's any public here to speak?
I would just like to say, because I helped work on this, put it together, we're basically presenting a shovel-ready project that we had from the master plan, and I believe we did that à la carte. So we had all those options out. Like you said, nothing's permanent until we receive those funds, and then look at project costs for basically what we can do for what we take in,
Right.
if that helps you guys. So all of those are all things to be done, but once we get those funds, then that'll be something we come back and decide what we can do based on the costs of all of those projects. And we're gonna continue working on that to get all of those done through the future.
And the way the grant is written is each project had to be a standalone project. So you see each one of those projects are standalone projects in of themselves. You could build one without having to build the others.
Okay. Great, is there anybody here that is, wishes to speak in regard to, again, this is the public hearing for just the grant application, so it would just be that topic. You guys any questions? Okay, Bob?
Yeah, Robert Tazier. I would just like to say that I'm in support of this, this project. This is stuff that we have done in the past, and we should continue to do to upgrade our community and provide the citizens of our community the areas of recreation that we all deserve. It's a showplace of a beach as it is, and improvements that we can make out there is just a added bonus for our community. Expanding the splash pad, doing a lot of the things that were projected into that program, the bathroom uphalls. We've all known that those needed to be done for a long time. And this is a way of getting that done, and I just wanted to throw my support behind this whole project. And looking at it that it's in the Master Parks and Recreation Master Plan, and you know how I feel about master plans. So I just wanted to point that out, and thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for? Okay, last call, otherwise we're gonna close the, okay. All right. Then can I have a motion, or would somebody like to make a motion to end the public hearing?
So moved.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Ms. McGuire to close the public hearing. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on now to the public, the first public comment section on the agenda. The first public comment section is specifically for items that are on the agenda this evening. We do have a second public comment section later in the meeting if you would like to talk to about something that's not on the agenda. So again, the first public comment, generally we would say you have to fill out a comment card, but we only had one in-house, so we're not gonna hold you back if you didn't have a comment card and wanted to, but I believe we have one.
Just one, Bob Tazier.
Okay. Sorry, yeah, I should. Well, if I would've known that, I would've told you to stay, so,
Right, if you would have had a card.
yeah.
Yes, I've got 3 items on the agenda I'd like to speak about. One is the engineering proposal, the second is professional planner proposal, and the third one is the sting operations. So, engineering proposal. I looked through the packet, and I have to say that who better to have as an in-house engineer than Rick Freeman on this very important proposal here, because no one knows our community better than Rick. I think it's going to be a cost-saving method having him in-house. I think that a lot of the work that he has done for us in the past has been extraordinary, and I believe in the future having him in-house is going to really cut down costs for the future. I mean, his rates are more than reasonable, and I just can't say enough. I've worked with Rick in the past, and I know I've worked with a lot of engineers in the past, and I got to say that he is a outstanding engineer, especially for our needs here in Oscoda. So I support that. The second one is professional planner. Again, Beckett and Rader has been providing services to the township for as long as I've been on the planning commission. And I'm not speaking for the planning commission, I'm speaking for myself. But I've enjoyed doing projects with Beckett and Rader on a personal level, writing articles and things of that nature through the Michigan Association of Planners. I know that Beckett and Rader is an outstanding company when it comes to form-based code. We've used them in many things in the past, and they've always brought forward not only great projects and things of that nature, but they also are our networking for form-based code, for our master plan, for a lot of the other things that we enjoyed, and I really would hope that we move forward with the professional planner with Beckett and Rader. The third thing that I want to talk about is the sting operation. There are two things involved with the issues that we have in our community about drug abuse. There is finding help for the people that are in that area. This is a hard subject for me to talk about. Drug addiction is real. It's in our community. There's two solutions to that. One is to get the people help that need it, and the second is enforcement. Sting operation gets those drugs off the streets, and we need that. I fully support this sting operation. I would hope that in the future we would once again put an officer from Oscoda Township back on that sting program. I think it's extremely benefit. Most of the cases that you see that are coming out are in Oscoda. What better way to fight that than to have an officer here all the time? Have one of our officers there in the sting operations. So I support the sting operations. I also support treatment for addiction. So that's something that we should be looking forward to in the future, some type of treatment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, again, is there anybody that has a public comment for an agenda item that we're discussing this evening? Last call. Great. Moving on to consent agenda. On the consent agenda, first of all, under approval of minutes, we have the regular meeting minutes of April 11th. Are there any comments or corrections on those?
I had one on the, it's on the row invoice 101153. The minutes have it listed as $2,065. We corrected that, it was actually $2,505. And then this leads back to a question on the payment of bills, but I'll get to that later.
Okay.
But, that
So
was,
the
that,
row invoice, I'm sorry, 101153
yes,
should be
2505
2505, okay?
is what was approved.
Okay. And any other comments on the April 11th? Any comments on the work session meeting minutes from April 19th? For corrections?
I think it was just the time of the work session that I saw. Informed about it. This is 1:31 a.m., I guess.
Okay, it was a late night.
And also have Mr. Cummings as both present and absent on that.
He is very
I think
talented.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which part of me was not here? I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe the mind.
Yeah, it could be. That's right.
And actually then, Mr. Spencer was here, so. He was listed as absent, but.
Yeah, and that's
Oh,
changed to
it's
in
always
late at
late.
1:35.
Okay, I didn't read that far. Okay, so just those, oh, now I see it. It's hidden by a sticky note. So just those two? Okay, and then moving on, sorry, I keep moving on the microphone. Moving on to the payment of bills. First one is prepaid April 19th. We have $13,364.63. Is there any, is that where your comment was, Bill, or? something
Yeah,
else?
on the, it's on page 49 of the packet. You'll see on there, under Fund Department 299, unallocated, it has the road professional services invoice 101153 in the amount of $2,025. And that was supposed to have been paid out of the DWRF, checking account, not out of the unallocated. But Ms. McGuire sent out a report, because we didn't have a report in the packet for the DWRF checking account. But Ms. McGuire sent that out this afternoon, and
I paid it out of the DWRF. I don't know who entered it into,
and the right amount was
yes.
paid out of there because, well, it wasn't listed separately. You pay all those invoices with one check on there, but the total was correct. There's 3 different invoices that were paid out of the DWRF, and that total was correct. But this $2,025 shouldn't be on here.
I had Melinda contact Roe, and we are taking care of that right now.
Okay.
So they haven't received the check yet. So when they receive it, we're going to figure that out.
Okay,
So
very good. Thank you.
Then we have the check run from April 26th, $41,521.25.
Is this the one with Alpina Mark in it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I had asked a question because it had just janitorial services identified at the amount of $24,000, and it seemed a little high. So either that or I got to switch to cleaning. Anyways, go ahead. Jamie pulled the invoice.
Yeah, Ann asked me about it today, and so I looked at the invoice that was attached to the purchase order. And there was several other things that were attached to it besides just janitorial services. So maybe, Josh, if you can change the description to include some of those things?
Yes, I believe that one had some of the repairs they did for the VA
Yes,
in it.
definitely.
Yeah, and we've got that structured out so the VA gets theirs, and
So,
then
yeah.
that'll be separate from ours going forward.
So we'll be reimbursed for this, basically,
Yes.
the additional charges, right?
Right.
Except for like it's roughly $3,500 a month for cleaning.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 15,000 last month.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's going up.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions in that check run? All right, then we also have the check journal, payment of bills. Anything there? And then we have the CWSRF checking report along with the DWRF check that Jamie added. Anything there? And then there's a copy of the investment report.
Just so the audience is aware, we do a quarterly investment portfolio that I present to the board, and it gives you the idea of how much we have and what rate we're getting, which is not very much right now, except for some of my long-term ones that I went out before, and we've got a little bit better interest going on. And it gives the time frame and where the investments are located at.
Okay, so with that, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda. Palmer?
And support?
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Spencer to approve the consent agenda. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wushtabar?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to the subcommittee report and project updates. First on is the April 2022 engineering progress report. Dave?
Good evening. You have a copy of the report in your packet. I'm going to run through and hit some of the highlights here for the report. Give an update, Phase B of the construction, water main construction, which is Oscoda, Beach, and Green Streets. We are going to be having a startup meeting or kickoff meeting with the contractor to restart the work out there. That's going to mostly be restoration, and also there's, I think, 6 houses that need to be connected yet. So that project will be moving forward here very shortly. Phase C, which is Lake Road and Elk Lane, along with Inner Lake, west of Cedar Lake Road and Hickory Road. And then also Ridge Road, we just took bids on that this past week. And we had 3 bidders, all responsive. They all came in under the original estimate. Low bidder was Elmer's at just a little under $2 million. $1,957,000. So that was good, that they came in under estimate, so. Phase A, which is Oscoda Street, Oak Lane, and Van Etten Drive, and Woodland. And Phase F, which is Washington Street and Fullerton Avenue. We are finishing up plans right now, and the intent is to get that out to bid yet later this month or in May, to be able to move forward with that. And that can be funded through part of the funding that came about with Representative Aller, with the funds that came through there. So that's what we're looking at doing there, as well as with the service connections. There's a certain amount of service connections that need to be put together yet as well. And that would all fall under the same bid document, which right now we're looking to try to get that out towards the end of May and be able to award it in June so that it can possibly start at the same time this Phase C that was just bid would be able to move forward. The remaining portion of H, which is Colbath, Lakeview, Mohawk, Indian Trail, and Chippewa Road, that project we're under design with that right now, with the goal of being able to put that out to bid late in the fall, so that would be something that the contractors could start with in spring. Sometimes we see better pricing when you do it in the fall, because a contractor might be trying to get their projects lined up to be able to start work on it in the spring. So that would be the goal for that phase. Now to talk a little bit, we had a funding meeting last week with the state, with Eagle, regarding the funds coming from Sue Aller's office, or that she had got for the township. And what that is that there was, we have this broke down, is that the total project that we had was $9.5 million. There's been $1.5 million that's been done already. Total amount in the original project to be completed is $8 million, which is what we received from the appropriations. There's a total amount of additional phases, which is Lakewood Shores that we're looking at, which would be roughly in the $3 million range. So that puts us at $11 million total, and then with the $8.5 million that's coming in, that's where we look at, and then there's an additional $2.5 million, which what we're trying to look at is to see that C2R2 money that was allocated, is how that's all gonna work out with what was just appropriated through Aller's office. So with that, that's where the funding is gonna come forward for those additional phases that we were talking about. And then with that, as we're moving forward with the sanitary sewer, the CWSRF project, that's moving forward. Hopefully they'll be starting the building construction for the new bar screen facility next week. They've got all their concrete poured. And they should be starting work on the pump stations come May. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have from the report.
Anybody have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the Economic Improvement Director report. Pat?
Hi, good evening, everybody. First on my agenda is the Art Subcommittee. They'd like to do a little presentation for the board, as well as the general public. In the past, we've attempted to provide updates on their progress, and we thought, what better way to update everyone than seeing it for yourself? So a few members of the subcommittee are here. I'll let them do their introductions and proceed with their presentation.
Hey, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Vicki Hopcroft from the Art and Placemaking Subcommittee. With me is Heather Tate and Lane McKenzie. And we want to talk to you tonight a little bit briefly about how art is beneficial to the community. Yes, art is nice and art is fun, but it also means business. For example, when people come to a community to view art, they tend to spend, according to the Americans for the Arts organization, they spend an average of $31.47 per person. I know from other research, when people come into town for such an event and stay overnight, they spend an average of $76 per person. Arts and culture tourists spend more and stay longer in the community. They are more likely to stay in a hotel or a bed and breakfast. They are more likely to spend $1,000 or more during their stay, and they stay longer than other travelers. This is also from the Americans for the Arts organization, a national organization, and this study was conducted in 2017 in communities all across the United States, both large and small. The arts also provide meaning to our lives. 63% of the persons surveyed believe that the arts lift me up beyond everyday experiences. 73% say the arts are a positive experience in a troubled world. 64% of the people said they feel pure pleasure to experience and participate in the arts. Not only that, the arts mean business. 82% of those surveyed believe that arts and culture are important to local businesses and communities. 87% of Americans believe that arts and culture are important to their quality of life.
And that's where I come in. So that statistic is pretty significant. 82% of people believe that art is important to local businesses and to the local economy. Our group started meeting in November of 2021, and the first thing we did was nail down our mission statement, which I'm going to read to you. We facilitate a thriving art community in the heart of downtown Oscoda, inspiring people to explore and experience art and fostering shared pride in the Oscoda area. So once we decided what our mission was, we started planning, and we started thinking, what aligns with this mission, what would be in line with what we hope to accomplish. And the first thing that we decided would meet this criteria is the Oscoda Art Walk. So the idea for this is 21 pieces of art will be displayed on pedestals like this one. This is not one of the pieces. This is an example so you can see what it looks like. In strategic places throughout downtown Oscoda, which will kind of drive some foot traffic and some fun. If you're driving through town and you see these pieces of art, you might want to stop and hang out and, spend some time in our downtown area. We also started looking ahead to future years, so not just 2022. This is planned, the reception will be in June, but also kind of, what do we want to accomplish in an overarching kind of theme. And we've started looking at some of the existing murals that are downtown. A lot of them are historic. They've been kind of beaten down by the weather, and they need some preservation, they need some hope, they need some restoration, and we've kind of started ranking them in the order that we think that they should be addressed. The idea for that is to make sure that the art that is there isn't lost. The existing pieces should be preserved and be there for us to view and also future generations. It would be a crying shame for some of those murals to go. They depict pieces of Oscoda history that some people have no idea even happened, let alone they haven't seen these pieces. So we kind of want to bring some focus to them, bring some prominence to that. We also have on this sheet right here, do you want to be Vanna now? Sure. Would that be good? Okay. Todd's going to hold it up so you guys can see, the audience kind of can see it already. They are panel and frame art displays. They have banners in them. There are 3 that exist. Those are the 3 that exist now. The bottom images are just some examples of what they would look like if they were hung correctly, and they are movable, so they can be installed, they can be taken down, they can be moved around. So if a building owner decides that they no longer want that up, we can take it down and move it somewhere else. So it's not something that has to stay with the building, which is kind of cool. Once we've come up with several sites that we think would be great for those, and once the initial 3 are hung and approved, we'd like to select more, and we'd like to bring in some photography or some other art mediums kind of to bring the community together and get some community art going, because that's one of our goals is to make sure that the community is involved in all of these things. And we also have been working hard to get a sponsorship structure going so that eventually these projects are self-sustaining, so that we can continue to add and to upkeep the things that we've already installed. Maybe add some more pedestals next year, or some murals, or anything that's fair game that increases the aesthetic, pull towards our downtown. That's really what our focus is. So I'll trade lane spots now.
Yeah, so we have had a really strong response for the first call for artists. We've had 47 submissions So we have 21 pedestals, so we have a juried show that we're doing with that. And that art reception that Heather talked about is gonna be on June 24th, and that's when we're going to announce the winning artwork, and it'll be printed and displayed on the pedestal for that season. So it's a time to celebrate and to get a chance to purchase those actual pieces of art as well, and maybe even meet the artist that made them. And so the show will be hosted at Huron Shores Artisan Hall for the better part of the summer. So pretty much our big season that we're trying to get people engaged and wanting to see new art that is specific to our area. And we're using our new sponsorship structure to pay out those winners. So it isn't the money that we're getting allocated from you guys. We're trying to create more money and ways of doing that. So we plan on doing more outreach as well for the community so that there can be more participation, more ideas, more things that we can look into for future projects. And it'll bring economic prosperity and a splash of color to the downtown for years to come. So we're looking at that future, that we see this beautiful beach that we're trying to get even better. We want people to come into the district, the social district, as long as that art walk. And just want to say thank you for your time and your support of the arts. It's very, very important. And we can't wait to see Oscoda become the art destination of the Sunrise Side. So thank you.
Thank you.
Or burning things, if you do, we can compile them and send an information for like one of the packets in the future. So if you guys have any questions, instead of taking time now, just shoot them to Todd and we'll talk about them at our meeting if that's all right with you guys.
Sure.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
I had a question for you.
What time on the 24th?
We will send out an invitation, but it's likely going to be an evening reception. That's the weekend of Art on the Beach, so that's a chamber sponsored event, and we're hoping to just kind of like start that as like an art weekend in Oscoda, so kind of, like things go together.
Thank you.
Todd,
I want to commend the effort of the subcommittee. This is three of several members who are working hard, and honestly, I think one of the hardest working committees that the town has. So their efforts should really be applauded and commended, and I thank them for helping me.
I agree. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Todd, I know it was an art update, but she also mentions the social district. Can you give us an update on that as well?
We are waiting for the bars and the restaurants within the district to officially apply for their license. I have signs ordered, I have mugs ordered for them. So I'm hoping we're launching end of May, first part of June, but everything seems to be tracking out okay.
Thank you.
All right, next up for me, I was asked to, I guess, provide a more formal summary for the Awney auction. So for the, I guess, the benefit of the public, I'll read the auction update and summary that you guys have in your packet. That starts on December 13th, 2021. Oscoda Township Board, at the December 13th, 2021 Oscoda Township Board meeting, the board passed a motion for Awney Medical Center to be placed in auction with Clerk Sutton being the signatory. The contract was included in the board packet. The contract included Exhibit A, which included the sales event date of February 23rd, 2022, and the reserve price of $900,000. The signed contract was delivered to the broker and auction platform on December 17th, 2021. The team, including Township administration, began preparing for the auction, which included delivering current leases, building operation costs, scheduling a building inspection, and delivering the Township's chain of title. Unfortunately, we hit a snag with the chain of title, which pushed the original date of the auction back. And once we had the chain of title matter cleared up, then the auction was rescheduled and moved to March 23rd. Under the terms of the agreement, the contract with the auction platform expires at the time of a sale or 90 days after the sales event date, which would now be March 23rd. Thus, having a second auction that ends May 4th, 2022 is within the original contract the board approved. The second auction is set to start on May 2nd with an ending date of May 4th, 2022. And revisit the statistical recap that was offered at your April 19th special meeting. The total marketed views for the property, which means how many people saw the advertisement of the auction and went to the landing page of the auction, was 7,815 viewers. Unique visitors, which is the number of people that went past going to the landing page to view more information, was 185. Accessed due diligence, which is the number of people that reviewed all the due diligence documents on the dashboard, was 64. Signed confidentiality agreements, self-explanatory, the number of people interested in participating in the auction and signed the CA was 60. And approved bidders, not only the number of participants interested, but were approved by the auction platform based on their financials, ended up being 6. So the next auction is set for starting May 2nd and concluding on May 4th, 2022. So I was not at the special meeting, so what questions can I answer regarding our auction?
So the reserve price will remain the same?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
I think that was the biggest one, because they were talking about changing the valuation to 500,000, and then there was the, well, are they gonna just change the minimum, or the reserve price?
Well, the contract the board signed states 900,000, and so since there was no board action to change that, we have to leave it the same.
What is the feedback from Friedman regarding the value of that property based on going through the first document?
Well, I think the feedback and some level of expectation, probably puts it, the highest bidder we had at the first auction was 500,000. That bidder did obviously not, conclude his end of the bargain and facilitate what he signed up for. But their expectation is it's probably where that building is. I think a key stat in all of this is the number of viewers, number of outreach that it made. More than 7,800 people looked at that auction opportunity. That's a lot of people. So the fact that that auction resulted in a $500,000 bid, I think that's probably the street value of the building, or if that's what they think.
Okay, so if we are not successful with this second auction, would it then just go right into a general listing agreement and advertise? Do we have I'm hopeful that the auction will be a positive result, but do we have what's the next step, just so that we can continue on, I guess?
Well, we have, there is a subject to addendum in the documentation, so no matter what the highest bidder is, whether it reaches the reserve or not, the board could expect to receive that bid, and then it will be your decision as to whether or not you think that bid is strong enough to accept, or what course of action you'd like to take after that.
Okay.
All up to you.
Right, so I mean, in theory, Friedman would be ready if, again, we're not successful with the auction, to just list it with a traditional listing.
Well, yeah, I mean, technically, we have a listing agreement with Friedman.
Right.
So it has been listed with them as a traditional listing.
It hasn't been advertised at all, though, I don't think, has
Well,
it?
no, because not long after we signed that agreement with them, we had that party from Alpena.
Right,
who was,
right.
interested, and
Mhm.
we were working on that negotiation,
Right,
which obviously fell through, so.
right.
But yeah, and I'd have to double check when, I do not know what date we signed the Friedman agreement, so I'd have to double check that.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that we kind of paused in regard to listing it, or marketing it, I guess, because of the land contract or whatever that was being proposed, you guys were discussing. But, I mean, May 4th is going to be here really quick. So if it's not successful, I just don't want us to have a month or two of stall. I'd like it to instantly be advertised and get going. Again, I'm hoping we get a taker on the auction, but if we don't.
Right.
Are you gonna bring back whatever the highest bid is to the board?
Yes.
So we're gonna have to make a decision on that.
Right, well, there's a subcommittee that's, I thought,
we're going to bring it right back to you.
So when is that first meeting in May?
May
Like the
9th.
16th or something?
May
like
9th.
that?
9th.
9th?
The 9th.
Okay, well,
Oh,
that's
the
not too,
ninth?
yeah,
Oh.
that's not too bad then.
Oh, good, okay.
Okay.
I had one question, Todd, with that, with the views and the landing page, is it a good idea to like change some of those things, how they're viewing it or what they're seeing to maybe entice more people? I mean, haven't looked at the page itself to see what's there, but I don't know.
I mean, for the auction?
Yeah, for
yeah.
people to view it or to see past the landing page, different things inside the building that are some of the highlight areas or something.
Well, I can go, I guess, review that with the auction platform. They pretty much take care of, the dashboard for that.
Just curious.
Yeah, some of the feedback that we had during, leading into the auction is, obviously people looking at the map of Michigan going, okay, where is Oscoda at? Of those 7,800 people, I would say a handful or however a small minority are probably even in Michigan. It's the rest of the country, right? So, them being acclimated to where Oscoda is, I fielded several questions about, well, what's the driving industry here? What's, future industries likely to be here? Because that all leads to the investors asking the question of, what will I do with this building? So I think, dropping off from 7,800 to 185 is probably more of a matter of logistics, location, and business, what the opportunity is for that building going forward.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? So everybody's good with the auction moving forward, correct?
I say let it play out.
All right,
All right, if I can stay online here for just one more little issue. I didn't put it in the packet because it was top secret. Very top secret. Happy to announce that we have been awarded the 62nd community for RRC certification in the state of Michigan.
Great job.
Finally.
Officially, I thank everyone who played a part in that, the Planning Commission, our interns, Tammy, the board support, and everyone, like I said, who played a hand in that. I think this is a big deal for the community. I'll be working with the MEDC to get a formal press release put out, and they are wanting to do some sort of an event, and we're probably looking at July. Have lots of people from the state show up and congratulate you in the community and keep this train rolling forward.
Awesome.
awesome. Congratulations.
Yes,
Yeah,
very good.
Thank you, Todd.
Very, very cool.
Thank
So
you
the
for all the hard work there.
62nd you said in the state of Michigan?
Yes, we are the 62nd certified, or RRC certified community.
Awesome.
And Dave,
Wow,
Dave,
that's-
that'll be another box we can check on the CDBG
Yeah.
application.
How many communities are there?
Yay.
Thousands,
All
aren't there?
right. Well,
So ends my report if you have no other
Okay,
questions.
well, good, end on a high note.
Just
There you
real, how many, ballpark me how many communities there are, just so that I can understand where 62nd actually ranks
In the state of Michigan?
in the state of Michigan.
I wasn't
Ballpark me.
prepared for that question tonight, so
lot.
I'll do some homework and come back.
Guess.
A lot. Hundreds.
So we're
Hundreds.
I would go as far as to say maybe 1,000 or more.
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of communities in
Josh,
Michigan,
you're Googling.
and we are 62nd
Yeah.
in that line.
We are the
No, Jeremy
62nd.
likes to talk. I didn't have the answer back for
Just pointing that out.
Okay.
That's very good.
Somebody might be Googling it, I don't know.
We have 83 counties and 533 incorporated municipalities consisting of cities, villages, and townships.
Only 500. We're still 62nd, though.
That's right,
That's right.
It'll never
That's a lot.
change.
62nd,
533.
Yeah, I just do it, but there was some him and some haw about, what's taking him too long? Well, we're 62nd.
Well,
Here we are.
Yeah, sadly, COVID affected a lot of things, and you can't have public outreach meetings when the town is shut down. And there were a lot of those requirements in the process, so I think they did a great job getting through the COVID issues, so thank you. All right.
Great effort to everybody
Yeah.
involved.
Thank you.
Okay, so moving on to the superintendent's report. First on is the dust control bid tabulation.
Okay. Your packet contains the bid tabulation and the response received from the annual dust control RFP previously approved by the Township Board. Historically, the Township's 13 to 14 miles worth of dust control takes approximately 3 loads of 9,000 gallons per load, or a minimum of 27,000 gallons total per application of Liquidow. The Township has seen better results with Liquidow than the 26% brine solution, but the more effective Liquidow is also more expensive to apply. If the historical trend continues for the 2022 season, a minimum of 27,000 gallons would translate into at least $16,227 per application of Liquidow. That's 3 loads. Last year, a total of $22,923.53 was paid to liquid calcium chloride sales coded to the Road Improvement Fund 203 to be paid out of line 203-000-969.000 Street and Road Maintenance. All applications of dust control are supervised by the DPW personnel. This requires Township Board approval.
Okay, are there any questions?
So we have to make a choice between the two different application chemicals?
Yes,
One of
and
them's-
just so you're aware, the 26% brine that we used to use, we found was not very effective, and the reason for that being is we have the very sandy soil. So the Liquidow sticks better, and it stays longer.
So it goes from, for a full load, from effectively 34 cents per gallon for the stuff that doesn't really work as well, to 60 cents a gallon for the stuff that works really well?
Yes.
That's, it's quite the cost difference, isn't it?
We also, just for a small piece of information, we have a lot of private roads also that pay us. And a third of our cost is invoiced by the clerk to the road commission, so the road commission applies a third of whatever we spend.
Tammy, what did we have in the budget for that this year, and then where would we pick up the funds for the shortfall?
Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, so this year we have budgeted 32,000.
Okay.
So,
So that would just make 2 of the applications, basically.
right, we've never, actually, since we started with the Liquidow, we've only had to do one application of 3 loads.
Oh, okay.
So,
So it's more expensive, but we have to do it less often?
yes.
Right.
Well,
Well, that's
yeah,
better.
that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
I was gonna say, any further questions, or is somebody ready to make a motion?
I'd make a motion to approve the application of Liquidow for liquid calcium chloride.
Support by Cummings.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Sutton, my mind just went blank, and support by Mr. Cummings. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wusterbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to the Oscoda Township engineer proposal.
All right, your packet contains a proposal for Township Engineer Services from Mr. Rick Freeman. As most of you may or may not know, Mr. Freeman's last day with Row Engineering will be April 29th, correct? And I have asked if he would consider a contracted position to remain with Oscoda. The township currently has ongoing water and sewer projects to complete through 2025, the Iron Bell Trail Project through 2023, and our current grant venture for Oscoda Beach Park, to name a few that Mr. Freeman has already started and is very familiar with. It is important to note that this will not add any additional costs, but rather divert expenses traditionally paid to Rowe, work that Mr. Freeman has been performing, at a discounted rate and pay Mr. Freeman directly. The proposal suggests a part-time, 20 hours a week with flexibility on being on-site or remote work, and a fee set at $55 per hour. I would ask that the board consider approving the proposal submitted by Mr. Freeman for Township Engineer Services and have the superintendent work with the township attorney to create a contract for execution.
So the hourly rate that Mr. Freeman is proposing is $55 an hour, but the rate that we've paid for his services under Rowe was $165, if I remember correct. Is that right?
I believe that's correct. Yes.
So when you say that it's at a discounted rate, that's substantially discounted.
Yes.
It's
And I-
still mostly covered by future grants. and awards that we
No,
get, right?
absolutely.
So-
Well, the discount is a discount, so sure. But I think to the point I want to finish is that, yes, he's done a great job for this township in the time that he's been here. Absolutely. I support that.
Rick, I was gonna say happy retirement, but, you know, for everything you've done for us, it's been awesome, and we're glad to, hopefully, we, all say a good thing here and keep you on and keep you very busy. But appreciate all the efforts you've done for us over the last 8-10 years, because it's been phenomenal.
You only want part-time? Or is that? Just asking.
I was gonna say, we also are contracted with Rowe, for a lot of these projects as well, so we wouldn't be eliminating that, correct?
No, it would take nothing except for the stuff that Rick does for us currently.
Right.
That would be the only part. Rowe would still be very much with us.
And
so.
we can assume there's no non-compete clause in your retirement with Rowe?
Yes, that is correct. I've already ran it by them. There's no non-compete. I'm not going to work for another consultant, solely me, so.
Okay.
Got it.
And my wife will be glad that I'm still not going to be at the house full-time.
I can appreciate, I understand that. And so Rowe Professional Services will still be our in-house engineering firm. They'll do the heavy lifting.
They'll do all the heavy lifting, yeah. I don't have the CAD capabilities and all that, and that is, and as Tammy said, the proposal is to continue on with the services that I was directly providing the township. And obviously, like I said, at a substantially discounted rate because I don't have the overhead and all of that Rowe has, so, all I gotta do is buy breakfast and lunch and supper, so.
Okay,
And gifts for the wife.
Yeah.
yes.
Just me not being home will be a gift enough, so.
Yeah.
And the juices are still flowing, so I'm not ready to full-time retire.
That's good.
That's good.
That's good. Well, with that,
Congratulations on that.
I would move to approve the proposal for Mr. Freeman and have the township attorney draft a contract for the execution of that contract.
Support.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm just happy we got a possibility of having a professional engineer on staff, so.
I heard him getting ready down there.
Who, I don't even know who got it. There's.
Josh
Hall.
Hall.
I think it was
Oh,
Josh.
all the way,
Just kind of
okay.
went over everybody. I guess we'll give it to him.
All right, okay.
It's my choice.
All right. There's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Sutton to approve entering into a contract and have the attorney draft same. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wushabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. All right.
Congratulations, Rick.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on then to Rowe Engineering invoices. We have a few in the packet. And Tammy has highlighted the individual ones, so.
Okay, so your packet contains invoices from Rowe Engineering for approval and payment from the following funds. And I'm looking right now, and I am missing one invoice on my report. and I'm just looking to see which one it is. Oh, no, I apologize, that was just the backup. Whew. Okay, so there are 4, and one transferred to the next page, so if you guys can. Yeah, I'm looking at it going, oh my
You're
God.
like, where did it go?
Yeah,
It was there.
So if you can approve individually, I'd
Yes.
appreciate it.
Okay. So the first one we have is the ASCO Exploration Trail, invoice number 102597. Is there a motion to approve that?
I would make a motion to pay invoice 102597 in the amount of $2,532.50 from GL 101-751-880-572.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Sutton, support by Mr. Cummings to approve that invoice. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Next on is the 2022 CWSRF project, invoice 102700.
I'll make a motion, we approve that in the amount of $11,341.15.
Support?
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Sutton to approve invoice 102700. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Next is the 2023 Water System Improvement Project. That invoice number is 102701. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve the 2023 Water System Improvement Project invoice 102701 in the amount of $7,563.75 to be paid out of the DWRF checking.
Support. Palmer?
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Westerbarth, support by Mr. Palmer for invoice 102701. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. And next, under as-needed services, we have invoice 102804. Is there a motion to approve that?
I move that we approve the invoice from Rowe Engineering for as-needed services, invoice number 102804, in the amount of $6,802.75 from account 101-299-801.000.
Support?
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Cummings, support by Mr. Sutton for invoice 102804. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to the Sting invoice for 2022.
All right, your packet contains a 2022 invoice from the Strike Team Investigation Narcotics Group, otherwise known as Sting, for $9,795.80. The Township Board has approved the exact same amount to be paid to Sting for the last several years. This invoice should be paid from the Police Fund 207 due to the nature of the services provided by Sting, specifically line 207-000-801-000 professional fees. It has also been confirmed that AuSable Township pays an annual $2,865.80 to Sting, and this expenditure should not be incorporated as a shared cost when calculating the annual chargeback for the contracted police department's services. I would ask that the board consider approving the Sting invoice of $9,795.80 to be paid from the Police Fund 207-000-801.000.
Okay,
We get a report from our local police department on what's going on in the local department. Do we get one of those from Sting?
It's in the packet
It's
with
in-
the
yes,
invoice.
it's in the packet, Sting
We just,
activities.
we get an annual
But
report.
it's not, we don't get the monthlies that show what they've been doing and all that. I mean, because it's like an
I don't.
overall, isn't it? It doesn't show
I-
us.
I
It has
can,
a
I can
summary.
speak to that, Jeremy. I'm on the Sting board, and some of the information I can give to the board members because it's public, some I cannot. But,
Fair enough.
yeah.
I'm just wondering how many, I mean, of all the wonderful things they're saying that they caught, how many of those things were in Oscoda Township?
I will dig out my last report that I have and keep you updated on when we go to the meetings and provide that information for you.
They have it broken down here for Iosco County.
Yeah, I don't know if it's all of them, but they had them highlighted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, I printed it
Fair
out.
enough.
I printed it out.
Yeah, it's right there. I'm looking at it.
Great, any further discussion, or is there a motion?
It's quarterly meeting too, just so you know, for us.
I would make a motion to approve the Sting invoice of $9,795.80 to be paid from the Police Fund 207-000-801-000.
Support, Palmer.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Sutton and support by Mr. Palmer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried.
And could we check in to getting an officer from our department back in with Sting?
Sure. Okay, moving on to the pump station replacement project pay request.
All right, your packet contains the 5th pay request in the pump station replacement project in the amount of $25,129.29, leaving a total of $5,119,450.53 remaining for this project. I would ask that the Township Board approve the 5th pay request from RCL Construction in the amount of $25,129.29 to be paid from the CWSRF fund.
Okay, is there any questions, or do we have a motion to approve?
I have one question on that. There's been 2 change orders on this. The total now is at $40,346. The last one had to do with pump station 25.
Yes.
Do you have any idea what the increase is there for
Yep.
pump station
wanna go ahead?
25? That's
Okay.
That's the one we've been having a problem with.
Yeah, so pump station 25, shortly after we started work, the variable frequency drives, the VFDs that control the motors, they both were fried. They don't work. So what was happening is when you turn the pumps on, you got an instantaneous where the pump is turning right on, and these are large pumps. It's already caused one break in the force main. So what we've been trying to do is find replacement VFDs, and they finally have come across where we found them to be able to put this in and correct the situation. But it was, I believe what it was is they think it was a lightning strike that came down and sent a current through, and it fried the variable frequency drives in the pump station.
So this wasn't part of the original?
It was not part of the
Project.
original project, no.
Okay, all right,
This is to fix a problem that happened just after we started the project.
okay. The reason I ask is when I look at the total that's remaining, this is the 5th payment and the amount goes up.
Yeah,
So,
And this was these VFDs, they were so hard to find, and that's what's caused such a larger change order this time.
and didn't we have to, not too long ago, replace, I think we replaced one of the
I think it
motors
was,
or pumps in that?
I think it was,
Yeah,
yes.
okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? Again, this is a very large sewer improvement project, a little over $5 million that we're spending on the existing sewers.
Well, with that, I will move to approve pay request number 5 to RCL Construction in the amount of $25,129.29 to be paid from the CWSRF fund.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Westerbarth, a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Westerbarth to approve the pay request as submitted. Roll call.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to one of our agenda additions, we have Resolution 2022-08. Mr. Sutton had emailed out earlier today. I also asked for, it references maintenance plan. So I had asked if we could see a copy of that maintenance plan, and he did email that out and also provide it on the board table. So basically, we're not committing to, according to this, the township isn't necessarily committing to anything, correct? That's what I read,
Yeah, it's just,
in regard to maintenance.
oh, yes, for maintenance, no.
Yes. That was my
No, the
question.
maintenance is to be run by the 503B
Okay,
for all of Iosco County.
all right.
It's a partnership between the townships and the IET.
Right,
combined.
but it indicates that financing is all coming through,
Through
it
the
does-
IET.
Right.
The IET,
Yes,
yes.
right. And that we are not, it's, snow removal's not occurring, that kind of stuff,
Right.
right, by the
It won't be
DPW staff
It won't be a
or anything
path
like
that's
that?
used in the wintertime.
Okay.
Yes.
So are there any questions on this? Who prepared the resolution?
Mr. Freeman?
Okay. It was an agenda addition, so there's no information in there, so that's why I'm asking.
The purpose of this was, it's last 3 years, 4 years that we've been putting this project together. We're at the point where MDOT is ready to say we can advertise. So part of the process is that the township had to pass a resolution that all the local share was in place, and then also that you had a maintenance plan in place also. So this language is kind of from MDOT as far as what we had to show, so that they will then move forward with it, allowing us to advertise and finally get this project under construction.
Rick, can you again mention where this new phase covers for the audience?
The new the trail?
Yes.
So the trail will pick up from the Oscoda schools there along River Road, where the trail was completed, not this past summer, the summer before, 2020, fall of 2020, I believe. And then this will run across the road right there, and it'll run on the north side of the road down to Foot Village. We'll do a short little cross the road there, past Ray Road, then back across to the north side, all the way down to the entrance of Old Orchard Campground.
Thank you.
And the maintenance agreement was required by the Forest Service as well, wasn't it?
Correct,
Yes.
correct. Yeah, and they talk about in that maintenance agreement, you know, brushing off the path. There really won't be much brushing off. It's a aggregate path.
Right.
It's not an asphalt path, so we won't be sweeping off the aggregate that we put down, so.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah,
Rick, just
thank
one
you.
other question. Did the issue get resolved with the endangered the rattlesnake?
I'll put it in quotes, yes. So.
I've been up for 20 years and I haven't seen one yet, so.
Well, exactly. The issue is they did not, through the several surveys, they did not find a snake. But the habitat is such that it could be suitable for a snake. Even though the weather up here isn't suitable for a snake. So I can keep going on, and Bill can allude to that of that's been the big sticking point for the last 2.5 years.
Crazy.
Well, and just on that point, we've been, like I said, we've been working on Phase 3 for over 3 years. The Forest Service has been at virtually every meeting, and just in this past year is when Fish and Wildlife came into the picture and started and created a whole problem with kind of putting the brakes on the whole program. Hopefully, we have that resolved now, and we can go out for bids and start this project later this year. However, we can't start construction, correct me if I'm wrong, until after November 1st, per the U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Right, because of the snake.
Because of
Yeah. The habitat.
the habitat, right.
Mr. Freeman,
Yes.
what would the estimated construction dates be for this?
So with what Mr. Palmer said is that right now, if everything continues to move as we've been told, We should be advertising this in June with a bid date in July, with a notice to proceed through the MDOT process to the contractor in August. They will then be able to get in and start tree clearing from there until, and like Mr. Palmer said, they won't be able to actually physically start construction on the trail itself until after the 1st of November. But we can get in and start doing tree clearing. We'll allow them to work as long as the weather permits. Because like I said, we're not putting down any asphalt, so we don't have any concerns about temperature, just ease of construction.
Right.
And then probably wrap up in late November, early December this year, and then pick up as soon as the weather allows us next spring, and go the entire season next year to have the trail finished by October of 2023.
Wow.
So,
So we'll be able to start just in time for hunting season, where all the guys will go for,
On the bicycles
yeah. No, they'll just be gone.
and skateboards.
Construction shuts down around here about that time.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so any other questions on
Thank you,
that
Rick.
resolution? Or is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 2022-08 regarding the local match and maintenance associated with the Iron Bell Trail Phase 3 bike path.
Support, Palmer.
Okay, there's a motion by Ms. McGuire, support by Mr. Palmer to approve resolution 2022-08. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to other, and the first one is professional planner proposal.
Okay, your packet contains a proposal from John Iacongelli with Beckett and Rader to utilize services as the township's professional planner. Now, this comes as a recommendation from the township attorney to do ordinance amendments and revisions, basically for the reason that when we send our amendments to the attorney to look over, the only thing she can do is make sure that everything that is in the ordinance is legal. That doesn't specify for if it's something that the town is good for the township. We could pass something that's good for Bay City, but not good for Oscoda. Therefore, to have Beckett and Rader, who is knee-deep in Oscoda with the master plan and the Parks and Rec plan, review ordinance amendments. To have them do it would have them looking at, is this what Oscoda is after? Is this, does this fit with Oscoda? So Nicole reached out to Beckett and Rader, and they came up with $155 an hour based on case-by-case basis. Just if we need ordinance amendments done or a revision for something, we can send it off to John Iacongelli, and he will review and help us keep on the right path for the things we're trying to do here.
Okay, so are there any, so we really don't have a not-to-exceed number or anything, it's just like an hourly, we wouldn't be able to have any.
No, because we, like right now, I think we're waiting on, 4 or 5, Bill, revisions that the
Yeah.
attorneys reviewed, but she said, I can verify legally these are good, but to
Yeah,
have.
what we've done in the past, Mr. Taser and myself have been on the planning commission subcommittee, along with our planning and zoning director. In different parts of the ordinance, because you understand the ordinance, like the 165 ordinance was written 40 years ago. Well, things change in what you want in your community over 40 years. So some of those are outdated and need to be revised. What we've done in the past is our subcommittee would sit down and look at these various things in the ordinance that need revision, and we would either look at another municipality's ordinance on that particular issue and use some of that wording in there, or create our own and then send it off to our attorney for review, for legal review. Usually the legal part would, the attorney would send it back with numerous revisions, so we go back into our committee and rewrite it and then send that to the attorney again just for a double check. So I think with having a professional planner, especially one that's helped the township draft our master plan and our Parks and Rec master plan, has helped with our RRC, with our form-based code, it only makes sense to have them work on these ordinance amendments that we need to make. Now, some of them that at our last meeting we didn't work on because the attorney had some comments on them, but some of them are very minor changes that we won't have to go through Beckett and Rader. One of them that was on there was to, since we're changing the form-based code, it was simply to, like in the marijuana ordinance, to add the new district into that marijuana ordinance. So, I mean, that's a minor change. That doesn't really have to go to the attorney or to Beckett Rader or anybody else. It's a minor change that this board would have to approve, but it's not something we'd have to involve a professional planner in. Some of the other aspects of our ordinance changes, things that we're looking at, like tiny homes and those kinds of things, that's where you really need a professional to keep you on track, to make sure you're following your master plan. And since they helped us write it, it only makes sense that they would help us make sure we stay on track with that. So I think this is an excellent proposal. A lot of communities have a professional planner on staff that work full-time for townships. Most of them are larger townships than ours. But John Icongelli from Beckett and Rader, who's worked with us, he teaches classes in planning. I would argue he's probably one of the best in the state in terms of professional planners. So I think we're getting a bargain here to get his services on an as-needed basis for the 165. So I think this will be a good move for Oscoda Township. So I would move to approve the proposal from Beckett and Rader for professional planning services as presented.
Support?
I just have a question before I vote. So this is just more of a check to make sure we're adhering to the Planning and Enabling Act. And then any ordinance that gets revised, it's trying to keep us out of a lawsuit with conflicting laws. So the lion's share of the work is still going to be done at the Planning Commission and the subcommittee?
Yes.
And then this is more just as a check before it goes to the attorney?
Basically, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, any other discussion before we do a roll call? All right, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer and support by Mr. Sutton to approve the proposal as submitted. Roll call, please.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Wushtabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to number 2 is resignation from the EIC.
Yeah, I believe your packet contains the resignation of Rosemary Netwig from the EIC. She submitted that to our chairperson, David Eiler, right after our last meeting. So it's the first opportunity for us to get in front of you.
Okay. Any comments, discussion?
Have we ever denied a resignation? In some of these cases, I like to deny the resignation. Some of these people
This
are
could be
very
the first
valuable
one.
to our township.
I think we've tried, but it's never actually passed.
They kind of. I would move with deep regrets to accept the resignation of Rosemary Netwig from the Economic Improvement Committee.
Support.
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Palmer, support by Ms. McGuire to accept with deep regret the resignation from Rosemary. Roll call, please.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Wushtabarth?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to number 3, we have the Iosco County Equalization Service Contract.
So it's that time of year again, when we get this letter asking if we would like to accept or decline equalization services from the county. So you guys should accept or decline.
Tough to
Decline.
decline. Tough to decline.
Discussion?
Have we ever done this, used them in the past?
No,
I didn't think so.
no.
Not that I can remember.
Yeah.
We haven't, but in light of our other extension gonna be ending, do we wanna reconsider this for another time?
Can you do that? I can check and see if we could actually go back after we decline. Or they're not, I'd have to, I can actually call and ask and see how long we can extend if you want to wait. It's up to you.
Well, that was my question too, is with our assessor position in jeopardy here before long, is this, I mean, can we get along without this if, I mean, we have,
No.
but we've had an excellent assessor to help us with this, so I don't know.
I could ask Nancy's opinion if you like,
Okay.
and then send it out, in an email. Or have her send you an email, on her thought process on that. I think she's probably got pretty good insight, because she knows all these people personally.
Just wondering if this would help us with our assessor situation. I mean, because if we're not gonna be able to get an in-house assessor, which is what it's kind of
Sounds
looking like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can dig into it and get more information on how they actually work and see what kind of services we would get. I don't know, it's not in-house, I don't believe.
No, it's not
No,
in-house.
it's not in-house.
Because they're not even in-house for the county,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
So it's still the
went from-
remote that we've been looking
Yeah.
for.
Right. I mean,
But we are gonna need somebody for,
yeah, it doesn't really say anything on it just says it's a year-long contract that entered into April 1st, so, and it has a monthly rate, so,
Are there equalization services we can get from or from outside of the county seat?
It would be remote, just like this.
Right, but I guess my point is that if they're filtering it through them, there's probably a pretty good chance they're charging us a markup, isn't it?
Probably. Like I said, I can see what the services look like. I can reach out to them and,
I know in the past, we've always denied it because we have in-house service, but with Nancy's contract gonna be ending, and I'm pretty sure you won't get another extension out of her. Well, I don't know, you never know.
I don't know if
But-
I beg, I might get
Right,
one.
exactly.
when was the end date?
I think it's in June.
June 30th.
June 30th.
Yeah, and we have, yeah.
Not far past whether she wanted to retire.
And this equalization services has been serving Iosco County ever since they went out of house, and they're already familiar with our area and the properties and everything, so that's a plus.
Can we
there's a lot of
postpone this to the
slowness.
next meeting until we
Yeah.
get more information?
Yeah.
Opportunity?
I'll move to postpone this agenda item until our next regularly scheduled board meeting.
Support?
Okay, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer, support by Mr. Westbarth to postpone, to look into
Alternative options.
alternative options, I guess. Roll call, please.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wishbarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes,
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Moving on to the agenda addition, which was the EIC Director Office.
Yeah, so I was just trying to start a conversation. Was over at Township Hall a couple times in the last few weeks, and I saw that Todd had been sitting in Tammy's office quite a bit and inquired about, kind of like how that was working out. And it was difficult when there were times when Ms. Klein had to have a meeting that was private and he had to leave. And then I also understand that every time he comes to Township Hall, he has to set back up again, bringing everything he needs and taking everything away when he leaves at the end of the day. And so I'm just trying to figure out if there isn't some other solution that we can put in place. I remember we had a similar discussion, well, it was a ways back when we were, before we, when we still had the, yes, the building at the,
Ani Medical?
at the buoy, yeah.
Artisan Hall.
The building at the buoy.
The building at the buoy.
Oh,
That's
there's
right. That's right, Artisan Hall. And so I was just wondering what other options we might be able to come up with here.
Well, in the past, isn't Jim, Mr. Byer and Mr. Weed, they weren't in the office that Miss Richards is in. Where was their office at? I've heard that it was around the corner somewhere.
It
but
was the,
Code
Code
enforcement.
enforcement.
Oh, so the code enforcement officer doesn't have an office right now?
We
no,
don't
that's
have-
We don't
where,
have
we
it.
don't
We
have
don't have
code enforcement. I think when we had this discussion a couple months ago,
Yeah,
we
we
talked about the, I mean, we talked about where my, where the former supervisor's office was, which was where I set up, and Todd was in and out of there. We talked about there, we talked about the zoning not zoning, but the code enforcement. And then I thought that there was a offer, I guess, if you will, by Rowe, who was renting space, and it was decided for Todd to set up office there, is where I thought we left it, because I'm quite comfortable with, being in the building and one of those offices, but I thought that's how it was left, that Todd was gonna be set up over at the,
I see.
where Rowe was renting. Isn't that somewhat correct? Not to say that he shouldn't be in the township office, I just thought that that's where it was kind of left, but.
Can he,
Is there meeting space? I mean, you kind of need your own office, don't you, without,
It's pretty helpful if I have my own office.
what about the old OED office,
Well, if we sell the building, that's not gonna work.
right?
well, I hate to do it, but I think he needs it more than you do.
I'm sure I'll just stay quiet, but, that is fine. I didn't have a problem with it before.
Then I
yeah.
don't understand. Well, then let's just get it over with. I
Yeah.
move that Todd Dickerson's office be the one next to Tammy Klein's assistant, whichever office number that is, as the sole occupant.
Support.
All right.
I missed who the support was, sorry.
Mr.
Bill.
Palmer.
Bill, okay. All right, there's a motion by Mr. Spencer and support by Mr. Palmer. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cummings?
Yes.
Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
You didn't ask if there was any other discussion.
Oh, sorry, I didn't ask if there's any other discussion. Is there any other discussion?
Well, with Nancy's office is gonna probably be free, there's probably gonna be opportunity to rearrange in the building anyways, just saying.
Oh, good point.
And the
we
assessor's
don't have
office is a
codes,
little
so-
bigger, that might accommodate Todd, and having people in there and being able to have a table or things like that to set up, to sit around, just saying.
But in the meantime, it's perfectly fine for the,
Correct.
yes. Okay, so we'll go back to roll call. I think I started it, didn't I?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Sutton, yes. Mr. Wurstabarth?
Yes.
Ms. McGuire?
Yes.
Mr. Spencer?
Yes.
Ms. Richards?
Yes, motion carried. Okay, moving on to the, well, I guess that's it. The informational Red E network. I guess I'm just, is that like the plug in a car thing?
That's the charging station, yes,
Okay.
in the parking lot on Dwight Street.
Is there actually directions on that or anything? Does anybody know?
Yes, like to hook up your car?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
How
I
do you-
guess I know a couple of people with electric cars that said they went there and they were
There
really
used to be,
unsure
they're
how
right
to
on the
do anything.
How do you pay for the,
card.
oh, there's, I didn't even, okay.
I mean, I don't have electronic car. I'm just asking for a
Yeah, I'm
friend.
not
But it
cool enough
looks
for
like, I
that.
put it in there so you guys could see that that is actually picking up the usage for that,
Yeah, I noticed that.
so.
Do we did, I saw those on the beach plan, didn't I? There were a couple of charging
I
stations
think
out there,
like
yeah.
4 or something.
Is there anywhere else in town we should put them?
Yeah, I don't know.
Plant the seed, I'm sure it'll come up.
All right, so moving on the agenda, we have the second public comment section. Again, you did not need to fill out a comment card for this either way. but you are limited to the same 4 minutes. Is there anybody, and I'm just going to start? Oh, my goodness, that's me the third time, Bob. Just kidding.
You should sit closer to
Yeah,
the
I know,
podium.
just move closer, or we'll move the podium over there.
I might as well make it a trifecta.
Yeah.
So how exciting for Oscoda tonight. I just want to thank the board. We have art walks going on in Oscoda. This is wonderful. We have murals, talk about murals getting redone. We have talk about the beach park improvements out there. We have talked about festivals and social districts and new hotel and now RRC certification. How exciting. I mean, this is forward progress for Oscoda. We have an in-house engineer. We have a planning consultant that's going to be taking up I don't have to worry about writing whole new ordinances anymore. This is wonderful. I just have to say, the last thing I want to say is, yeah, there has been resignations turned down. Twice I had one ripped up in front of me. So that has happened. So thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for everything you do.
Yep. Thank you for all the time you put in. And shouldn't make jokes about the fact that you did 3. I didn't mean to be disrespectful of that. I'm appreciative of each comment that you make. Did you want to? Okay.
Hello, Devin Tajer. I live in Oscoda. Oh shoot, where'd it go? There it is. I'm up here to talk about, you guys okayed some money for a new fire truck a couple weeks ago. Not really sure how the criteria is made as to what kind of a fire truck our community needs at what point in time. I believe you set money aside or okayed money for a pumper truck. We do have a need for that, yes we do, but we also have an obvious need in this community for a ladder truck. We have a senior center, or a senior housing complex that's 3 or 4 stories. We have Alcona Health that could possibly build a 3rd story on it. And controversial or not, we have a 4-story hotel coming into our town. Public safety, basic public safety, kind of leans toward needing a ladder truck. As far as I know, the chief did not consider that for whatever reason. The turnout gear is a given. That needs to be done just to keep our men safe. But a ladder truck is also needed in a community that has a 4-story form-based code in it, which, by the way, was brought down from 6 stories. So we've really needed a ladder truck in this town for a really long time. There is a truck out there that does 5 things, and one of them is a ladder truck. It is a permanently mounted fire pump, so it pumps water from a hydrant, an onboard water tank, so it will essentially do what a pumper truck does. Maybe not hold as much water, but it'll do the same thing. It has an area for hose storage and an aerial elevated platform with a permanently affixed waterway and an ample supply of ground ladders. And that fire truck is called a quint. Now, I'm not a fireman, I'm not an expert here at all, but I really think if it's not too late to amend the request for the fire truck, that the board and our fire chief seriously look into the possibility of buying one of these quint fire trucks. Now, whether that be a new one or whether that be a used one that maybe a township is selling that they have bought new, but these fire trucks are used a lot downstate and in rural areas because they can be used out in the forest because they have a tank. But they can also be used in town because you can hook it up to the fire hydrants. And they have a ladder that'll go up 4 stories. And it'll shoot water on top of a fire, like at Coletta in a hangar, at a hotel, and it can rescue people. So I would hope that we could possibly amend or have our chief look at the possibility of getting a ladder truck for the town. Our new truck isn't going to be ready for us to get for 2 years, and I think we could possibly change that order. That would be great. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Devin.
Okay. Okay, Kathy?
Hi, everybody. Kathy Woosterbarth. Well, Bob got up here first and kind of stole my enthusiasm, but I am so excited, just like him, about that RRC. I don't know if you remember it being presented to us, but it looked insurmountable when it was presented, and so many things that we had to do, but we did it, and congratulations to everyone that was involved in that. It's redevelopment and ready community, in case anybody in here isn't familiar with that, but yeah, it's quite an accomplishment, so thank you, everybody. And I also want to make note of people like Rick. I really, really appreciate that Oscoda is so near and dear to you, that you want to continue in your retirement to contribute to the community. We are so fortunate to have people like this. I can name a few: Bob Delaney, Mark Henry, that have retired from the services that they have provided in Oscoda and want to continue because they're so dedicated to our community that they want to continue their expertise despite being wanting to be retired. So we're very fortunate to have people that have that professional and personal and emotional relationship with us. So, I do want to mention or bring up in terms of those plans for the funds that we receive from the state for the municipal water supplies. It sounded like there were some things that were maybe being considered for municipal water if we weren't going to use all of it for those PFAS affected areas, maybe looking at like Lakewood Shores or some other areas. I don't know what the decision making is related to that, but I would definitely consider some of those other areas that were identified with no known sources for PFAS, and I'm not sure if they have municipal water supply right now or not. They're not necessarily in our township, but like Asable, those areas that were identified there where we're not quite sure where those contaminants were from. And you know, that lagoon area, again, I'm going to bring up Mark Henry and meeting with him in terms of his concerns about those lagoons that we have. I don't know if it's a possibility for Rick or, you know, someone like that to meet with him, but we really need to consider what Mark is telling us about those lagoons and the concerns that are related to that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Hey, anybody else in the first row? Okay, no, moving on to the second row. Or, I guess not really row, section, second, yeah, section. Ready? No, third section.
Hello, J.D. Hawk, Oscoda. I just wanted to bring to the board's attention and to the audience, I want to commend the art committee's display tonight and presentation and apologize that we could not, they had a video they wanted to play and we could not accommodate that. So I wanted to get it out on the broadcast that if you are planning on coming to a meeting to make a presentation, we ask that you please get with Ms. Klein the Tuesday, no later than the Wednesday, because I know people will miss Tuesday sometimes, before the next Monday meeting. That way we can incorporate it into our graphics program and it will play just perfect. So we had that issue a few meetings ago when we tried to be nice and it ended up costing me several gray hairs. So
I remember that.
We have, we've made that change, and that's all I wanted to say. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, JD.
All right, anybody else on the third section? No? Okay. Moving on then to board comments. Is there any board members that would like to make comments this evening?
I would just like to say thank you to Mr. Dickerson for all the hard work on RRC. I jumped in there and we've had those rebuttals thrown back from Pablo and shared those back and forth, so that's a huge milestone to get that approval. And I know through the holidays when he was sending those back, you probably had much better things to do, but you stuck it through even there before and after Christmas in between the new year to continue meeting those demands that he sent forth. So I would like to say thank you and commend you, because it was a lot of work.
Inside the 5 of the red zone was brutal.
Well, we're there and we appreciate it. This was a lot of work and a lot of heavy lifting for you and everybody involved. There were a lot of people involved in that process, from the planning commission and, I mean, everybody. I jumped in with RRC certification, so I understood what Todd was talking about, and Pablo, and jumped on there, and then he started sending us you need to do this, you need to do that, but he did. He stuck that through, and I would just like to say thank you to Mr. Freeman. Same thing Kathy said, your love for the community and working with us, and the professionalism from both you and Roe for knowing what this means to us to be able to keep both you and them on for these services. And I appreciate you guys being able to be professional and work that out so we get both of you for the continued future of our projects and everything to come. And thank you to our art committee. That's really nice to have someone come out and give us a display so we know what you're doing. I really enjoyed that, and I like all the work you guys are doing. We are seeing people down there. I'm seeing a trend across the internet, and a lot of people are interested. I like it. It gives you something to do when you're downtown, and it's better than staring at some plain brick wall when I turn a corner and see something I actually want to stare at for a few minutes. So keep it up and keep raising those funds and let us know what you need from us. That's all I have for everybody here. Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Anybody have that on the table?
Yeah, a couple of things. I'd like to echo Josh's comments. I feel pretty excited tonight about the things, knowing Rick Freeman's going to stick around with us for a while longer. We're going to have John Icongelli as a professional planner working with our township. We have got a lot of planning issues going on right now in Oscoda Township, so that will be very helpful. I wanted to find out about, we have several openings on various boards. I understand that we've had a couple of applications. I don't know if they've dropped out or if we can expect.
We had one application for an alternate on the EIC that is out of the community, and so we were checking. There was a little bit of a gray area that Nicole found that maybe that person could be, but we were looking into that, and then we just got another application that supposedly was mailed but never was received, so then they just emailed the copy. So,
Okay, because
yeah.
we have an opening for an alternate on the Zoning Board of Appeals. We have
Right.
an opening for an alternate on a Planning Commission. Now we have an opening
On the
on the
EI
EIC Board, plus
An
an alternate
still on
on
the
the
EIC, yes. And we actually will have one more opening on the LDFA as well with the Airport Authority.
Okay.
So those will be coming on the next.
Okay.
I would assume we can
I would
hammer
hope
those out.
If we have some applicants, that we could review those and
Yep,
get
and
some of
they'll be
these spots
shipped out
filled.
to everybody.
Right. And the other issue, I believe Rick mentioned, I think they're looking into it for the C2R2 grant. I kind of feel like Oscoda's been shortchanged a little bit here. We were, Sue Aller was pushing very hard to get an allocation of funds to Oscoda Township. She was able to get roughly $8.6 million sent to Oscoda Township for our water main expansions. We had also applied for a C2R2 grant through the state. We were number 11 on the list. The first 10 municipalities were funded. When all those 10 municipalities finished their projects, there was somewhere between, and I never did get a final count on that, but it's somewhere between 1.8 and 2.4 million dollars that then was supposed to come to Oscoda Township, which in my view, along with the 8.6, would put us over the $11 million that we need for our total projects that we have, that we're looking at. In the meeting that we recently had with Eagle, what they said was that the 8.6 was coming and being put into the C2R2 program. And Rick, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's how that was going to be funded to us through the C2R2. And so that sort of took the place of the 2.4, which means then we only actually got 6 million from Aller. So I'm hoping maybe we can, and I think Rick is going to continue to look into this, I believe.
Yeah, the question is where did the 2.4 million go?
It just sort of disappeared.
It's under one of the shells.
Yeah.
And that was, you are correct, that was not what Sue Aller's office, I believe, had in mind.
Right.
We have not taken that off the table yet. That is still a question for that.
Because in my opinion, had we not gotten the money from Sue Aller, we would have had roughly 2.4 million coming from the C2R2 grant.
Right.
Now they've appropriated the 8.6 to Oscoda, but they're putting it through the C2R2 program, and somehow, like Rick said, the 2.4 disappeared.
That was in that budget, right? that wasn't
So
used.
I'm a little disappointed with that. Not to sound ungrateful that we,
Right.
are getting all this money. Don't get me wrong, it's a wonderful thing, but I'm hoping maybe that the powers that be can look at that and get us the total 11 million that we need for all of the programs moving forward. So that was all. Thank you.
Steve?
And I wanted to make an announcement, sorry. I wanted to just let everybody know a few weeks in advance that the Air Force did schedule a RAB meeting for middle of May. It's going to be the typical Wednesday, May 18th. And they're looking to have this at the United Methodist Church. So that's the latest I have here. Of course, anything can change.
Okay.
Do they have a time on that yet?
Usually, yes.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they'll do what they usually do, which is post the press release in the Oscoda Press.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, again, thank you. I think everybody that saw it tonight, that hard work pays off. I mean, RRC, when it was first presented to us, again, as it was said here, it was insurmountable. But it's the dedication of the people involved and the people on the board, Todd Dickerson and his staff, our superintendents, Tammy Klein, Bob Taser, Bill Palmer. I can't think of the countless hours that he puts in, as well as Mr. Cummings. But then it's everybody here tonight. I mean, you can see we have people involved in the art committee. Mr. Freeman, who again, I'm very happy that he's going to stay with us because he's done so much for this community that I don't even think we can put a dollar figure to it. So a lot of the projects that we have going on is really being spearheaded by Rick. Getting to my wife, the tasers, but let's get people involved. We just heard tonight we have many committees open, and we don't have lack of opportunities for people. We have subcommittees, and this community is what the residents make of it. So please, get involved, come to a meeting. If you know somebody and you're talking to them, ask them to get involved. And last thing, I'd like to thank our first responders. We're fortunate to have our own police force here in Oscoda Township for a rural community. That's kind of quite a blessing. And then thanks to all our veterans who keep us free and allow us to live free. And a special recognition to my father, who's in the audience tonight. And he lost his wife just a few months ago. But thank you, Dad and Mom, because I know my siblings and I didn't make it easy for you. Thank you for everything you did.
I echo everybody else's sentiments. I won't repeat it all. I have had several calls to the Township Hall in regard to the dump days that we usually do twice a year annually in the spring and in the fall. It wasn't on the agenda tonight, but will be on the agenda next meeting. And it's, I believe, Tammy, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the second weekend in June and the second weekend in September this year.
Second Saturday.
Second
yes.
Saturday. Yep, for those dates. And I can go ahead and, after we do the permission and get the board's approval, start selling the permits after the next meeting.
All right, I guess, again, don't want to restate everything that's already been said, but RRC certification, huge thing for the community, and thank you for leading that charge, Todd. That the reason we did that is, to be able to apply for different funding with MEDC, and it provides a great toolkit, for people to be able to do development in our community. It's supposed to make us more transparent and easy to process. And I guess in regard to the arts, I would like to say, we arm wrestle with this all the time. People always think that, we have to spend money on sewer, we have to spend money on water, we have to spend money on a lot of those things. But those things are not necessarily seen by the visitors. We need all those things as a community, but those aren't always seen. And it's been proven that people go to communities, to get certain, to get either cultural things or restaurants or whatever else. And, and they see a mural and they, as a child, I don't know about you guys, but there's certain things that I remember seeing and I want to bring my kids back later on in life. So if we create these destinations, these unique spots, it just kind of helps in selling our community. We all know this is a great community, but it just kind of brings everything together. I do really like the idea of the murals with the, or I should say the artwork that can transfer around in buildings. As we've discussed, and I'm very supportive of the restoration of murals, but we just have to have something in place that puts some ownership on the property owners as well, because if we're going to be investing public dollars, we need a commitment from those building owners that they're going to maintain or do something, because that's the problem that we've had, sadly. People have painted over some pretty beautiful artwork. But again, thank you for everybody that's here tonight. Thanks for coming out for the beach park improvement. If we get these funds, maybe we can do some more exciting things at the beach park. So thanks to everybody and have a great night.
Good night.
With that, I would make a motion
Can I say one more thing?
No, just kidding. Yes.
You guys brought up the boards that we have open right now. I also have open election inspector positions open, as a lot of my election inspectors have retired and went on to where they don't have to shovel snow. Anybody interested in that, we are gonna have training coming up in about 3 weeks. That's paid training, and then you work the elections as they come up every year. Then I would appreciate anyone who'd like to get involved, because we need you.
Okay, so with that, a motion to adjourn at 8:58.
So moved.
Thank you.